Good day, ladies, gentlemen, and others. I'm Alpha, and this is Thank You for Your Service. Today, I'm interviewing a personal hero of mine with over 3 decades of experience in the public service. I'm Alpha, and I'm joined today by Mrs. Lydia Ifeanyichukwu Alfa, née Ogudu.
Yes, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Pleasure to have you.
My pleasure.
Good evening once more. As a good African son, I have to say good evening. Right, so yeah, I just want to jump right in with some questions, particularly regarding your early years. What do you remember most vividly about your very first day in public service?
Well, I think from the point of view of where I'm retiring from, that actually isn't my first stint with public service. I did my youth service way back in Bauchi, or at Bauchi, between 1985 to 1986. And after my youth service, I was retained where I served because I had an honor, the State Award of Excellence. So I was retained. And that should be my first touch with public service. My experience, and of course, that's how many years now? It's quite a long time now. And what we had going for us then is not exactly what happens now. And so my first encounter and my first experience with public service and serving from a place that that is not my place of origin, but I just happened to have done youth service then, was such that I had a welcoming, an embrace from people that are not even of my tribe, of my descent, and so people were very ready to welcome. People were very ready to share experiences. People were very ready to also allow you to grow and at your pace. So that was my experience, my first experience with public service. It's a place where you are allowed to grow at your pace. It's a place where people allow you to also make your input. It's a place where people allow you to also develop. So that was my first experience with public service. Thank you.
Right, okay, so, but in particular with where you're retiring from, how did you feel walking into that building for the first time? Do you have any memories, any distinct memories of walking into the building for the first time?
I wouldn't say I do not have any memory. I think I should say I was very elated. I was very happy. And the place I am retiring from is the place of repute. Is a place that virtually every Nigerian would want to work. And so stepping into that building, regardless of the fact that it was one of their branches, I felt on top of the world. I felt fulfilled. I felt very happy. I felt very grateful to God Almighty.
Fantastic, fantastic. Why did you choose this path? What drew you towards government work in the first place?
Well, as opposed to what happens now, I think it wasn't a matter of you trying to choose a particular path. It is about you just wanting to work, wanting to earn a living, and wanting to contribute your quota to nation building in one way or another. And more importantly, also provide, be of support to the people around you. So it's much more of that than being driven by a particular career path. So in my own case, that was what happened.
It's very interesting. Tell me about the early days. What was the culture like then? Who were the women working in leadership back then when you started?
The culture then was that of, I think then we had more men than women. We had more men in higher places of authority than women. I want to believe, and that was the story we were told when we joined, that the place used to be like a man's club or a men's club, kind of. So you just had few women who came in, and they were restricted to specific area, a specific department within the ambit of the wider institution, and they were just for research or statistics and nothing more than that. And so we didn't have many women, but as at the time I joined, we had quite a handful, but not seriously in the position that I am retiring. I think the highest then that I saw, and then I had even put in quite some years, were having women that were deputy directors. But much later, we started having women that became directors. But things have changed anyway.
So the dynamics evolved as you matured over time.
Exactly.
Right. Fantastic. Just want to move on to a bit of another segment, particularly focusing on growth, challenges, and impact. If you could just briefly say how you navigated your way upward from entry level to eventually becoming a director in such a strategic arm of government. What were the key shifts or turning points?
Wow, what a question.
That's what all the education
yes,
gets
what
you.
a question. Was it a conscious plan? Not necessarily. But then let me start, because for me, I'm a very spiritual person. People may not understand it. My perspective of my life and everything that has happened to me is the path that God has chosen for me. And at each point in time, He directed my course, directed my feet, directed my path. And He kept planting me in such a manner that I could follow the trajectory that He had planned for me. So whatever I'm saying, I wouldn't want to remove that path, because that path is very fundamental to my growth and to where I have found myself at the point of exit. But having said that, like I said, it wasn't anything very conscious. I started with my stint with where I'm retiring from. I started at the branch level, and for very obvious reason, it wasn't anything strategic. It was just because I needed to be posted to where my husband was. So it wasn't strategic in any form. And then I worked there, and when my husband left for another city, Lagos, I had to actually seek to be moved to Lagos, and I moved to Lagos. And I had no particular department in mind, but I was sent to a particular department, and I started there. Obviously, one thing in life is when you find yourself in a place, you need to understand the dictates and the demands of what that particular place or business unit is all about. All right, if you do not have the necessary prerequisite in terms of competence, you begin to improve yourself in that area. And so it was, and especially from where I am retiring from. It wasn't anything too strategic. It wasn't a plan. It wasn't, send me here. It was also when my husband moved to Abuja that I had to be moved to Abuja and to the particular place that I'm retiring from. And so it became very incumbent on me to begin also to develop my capacity in that area, to build my skills, to build also my competencies around the demands and the dictates of what the business unit requires to allow me to work not just efficiently but also effectively. So that was what happened.
Fantastic. So it's fair to say that it's more about being adaptable and adjusting to the demands and requirements of where you found yourself, as opposed to in life, both domestically and at work. That's the adjustments, as opposed to imposing your own presuppositions onto circumstances.
Yes, I will say to a very great extent, yes. Well, would I advocate that for everybody? I may not, probably, because with what is happening now, it is good for you to have a vision. You have a focus. You know what you're looking for. You know where you want to go, and you begin in earnest to plan and make plans and make necessary adjustments to be there and to get what you want. Now, that's why I started by saying a lot that happened to me was the hand of God.
Faith.
And then faith, thank you. Not necessarily planned, but each place that I found myself, I had to also, I had to make certain levels of conscious effort to make sure that I adapt, that I'm useful, that I can deliver in the dictates of what was demanded of me, and that is by increasing, upgrading, upskilling, uptooling myself so that I could become more useful in that sphere.
Pragmatic utilitarian to the very end.
with all due sense of modesty.
Oh, of
Yes,
course, and deference to our Creator. All right, so can you walk me through one of the most difficult decisions or moments in your career and how you handled it?
Wow. One of the most difficult decisions.
Yes, one of the most difficult decisions or moments in your career and how you handled it.
Wow. Well, I think for to be very candid, a few years to this retirement, like I've always been telling people, you bought a flight, you intend that the flight should take you to perhaps maybe Lagos or Abuja, and then you'll be praying earnestly that the flight should land well. And right there in the air, you begin to experience some level of turbulence. Here and there, you had not gotten to Lagos, and then just about the time they want to say, oh, you are just commencing your descent to land in Lagos, and then there's this serious turbulence again. All right. So the trajectory of movement in my place of work had not been that smooth sailing. You've always had spikes of turbulence and what have you. But the very last one that just happened a few years ago was the one that shook the root of myself, and I want to believe everyone in that sphere of organization. It shook everyone. It came by surprise. It took everyone by surprise, and it shook everyone. And I dare say that should be my worst moment. Then as to what I did, I had to go back to my God.
The helm of the garment.
the only thing I know, the only instrument that I know, and I'm not that even a very prayerful person. Not very prayerful, but I am a firm believer in what God can do. And so I have...
Ifeanyichukwu.
Yes, yes, yes. I had to go back to God. I had to hold God. I had to... Everything that I could do had to revolve around God, just to give me a safe comfort. And that was what
Safe to say he has.
And honestly speaking, I thank God for what he did and he has done and he keeps doing in my life. So that storm came and it's gone. And here I am and I'm retiring. So,
just to be clear, so that, because obviously I understand that you can't go into specifics, hyper specifics about a lot of things, but the most difficult decision. What was the most difficult decision? The decision to hold
the decision...
the helm of the government wasn't necessarily difficult,
Yeah.
but
the most difficult decision was to stay sane.
all moments. Okay, so the moment is what.
Yes, the most difficult decision was to remain sane.
When everybody was
going
losing their heads.
bonkers, that was to remain sane. It was a situation where you leave for work. You do not know whether that will be the last day or day at work, right? And then I can vividly remember moments where I had calls, people calling me, what happened, what has happened, I saw your name here, I saw your name there. And I kept telling those that, look, all right, as far as I'm concerned, I went to work today. I do not know what is going to happen tomorrow. But until I left office, I never had anything. So it was the most traumatic decision was a decision to remain sane. And even when you're praying to God, because God, it's a faith, to have that faith, to have that trust that all is going to be well was the most difficult thing. Was my faith shaking? Obviously, it was shaking, because you could see people that you had related with somehow, somewhere, just living. Then you begin to ask, you begin to look around and ask, who is going to be next? Is it going to be me? But I thank God that it came and it's gone, and then the rest is now story that I am telling you now.
All right, that will suffice. That will suffice. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. It's about composure, not being phased. So that really came to mind when you were explaining your story. Moving on, what were you most proud of accomplishing in your role, even if it wasn't always visible to the public?
All right. Thank you very much. I think, with all due sense of modesty, I think we have accomplished quite a chunk. I use the term we because it's a teamwork. It's my team and I, and so it's not just an individual thing. Yes, you are at the helm of that team, you're driving the team, you are coordinating, and then you are also giving instructions, you're providing the guide and providing the direction that the team should go. But nonetheless, it is and it was a team work. So for the most part, I think within the sphere of my administration, we have tried to transform the department, to move it from what used to be, from where people used to look at it as a witch hunting department, as a place where people will always come to find fault finding people. And of course, you should understand that if you are to look at what people do, like you're looking over the shoulder of someone, that individual will never like what you're doing, because that's like what we are doing. But then it is important for us to understand and to let the people that we're working with to understand that no, it is not a witch hunt. It is collaborative. It is partnership. And so we're able to transform the outlook of what we do to make it a partnering program. Now, what you're doing is you're partnering with the various business units. You're trying to add value to what they're doing. You're trying to let them understand how they can do their things better, and for them to understand the importance of having controls around their processes and own it for themselves, not necessarily you yourself owning it for them. And so if there are areas where you think they could be adjustments for improvement's sake, then you could make such suggestions. So it's more of partnering. And so for the most part, acceptability becomes better. And when people are honest and accept you for what you do, you are more likely to gain insight into what they are doing, because if they don't open up, you will not be able to understand what they are doing, and you'll not be able to do your work better. And so that is one fundamental thing that I have tried to do, and a lot of my colleagues have also spoken to that effect. I've also tried to also put in a lot of frameworks in place, not just by word, but also documenting them. So we have a lot of document that speaks to so many frameworks for the department, and it becomes a guide. So if you come into the department as a new entrant, you are exposed, you're given those documents for you to read so that you can familiarize yourself in what we do, how we do what we are doing, and what is of course, the institution has its own vision that is anchored on the vision of the CEO. But because we are also to deliver on the vision of the CEO, it's also important that we should have our own vision that should be speaking to the enterprise mandate and the vision of and the mandate of the enterprise and the vision of the CEO. So we've been able to draw up our own strategy that will align with the demands and the dictates of the vision of the CEO and the enterprise mandate. That is also documented. And then, like I said, other frameworks, I don't want to go into very specifics into what we do, but I've been able to draw up a lot of frameworks that relates to if we rate your business area, if we rate your process, we've been able to have a framework that you can reference in order to say, okay, what you have done carries this level of risk or that level of risk. And so that reduces the fact that people can now begin to be subjective in their risk rating of whatever issues they are raising. So because we have a standard, we have a framework that you can always reference, fall back and reference whatever issues that you have raised and see which the appropriateness of the ratings that you give to that. And then so many other things. But like I said, the most important one is the mindset.
Transitioning from internal watchdogs to partnership in stability.
Yes, and then we
subsistence.
We have built strong collaborations with other business units, our stakeholders, stronger collaborations and what have you. And we've always received accolades even from various committees of the board that we've made presentations to.
Fantastic. What did the work of the internal audit department in your institution mean to you? Why did it matter? Especially along the lines of accountability, trust, perhaps even public stewardship.
Right. I guess you have said it all, but let me just, I don't want to go into very specific definition of internal auditing as specified by the Institute of Internal Auditors. But I'll just give you a summation of what that definition is referencing. And that is to say that fundamentally what an internal auditor does is to look at, to review and evaluate the adequacy, effectiveness of the risk management, internal control, and the governance process that you have within an organization. And, it's also done in a systematic manner, in such a form that you should be able to, like I said, add value to the entire operations that you would have reviewed. Most people tend to think that it's all about, financial aspect. That is just one aspect. You also have to look at the processes that underpins whatever financial transactions that one is doing. So basically, that's what we do, and in that wise. You can't talk of internal control without actually talking about accountability. Somebody has to be accountable for what he or she does, right? Okay, so what that does to the entity is that it helps to give management a reasonable assurance, because internal controls are not instituted or installed by the internal auditors. No, it is management's responsibility to have those internal controls in place. But management relies on you because you are an independent assurance giver. All right? So management relies on you as an internal auditor to give them a level of assurance that the internal controls that they have put in place, they are working as intended, right? Okay, so that is what is. So for management, they rely as a third line of defense that the internal audit is. They rely on you, not on the process owner too, because if you ask a process owner, he will always tell you everything is fine. But you need somebody that is not involved in that process to review it and give you a level of assurance that things are working well. So that's how important internal audit is to any business unit.
Right.
I don't know if I answered your question.
You've touched on quite a bit.
Thank you.
But integrity is always an issue.
Okay.
So I would like to know how you manage to maintain your integrity, as evidenced by your ability to weather the storm, in particular of that story that you touched upon, but just in general, having had front row seats, so to speak, albeit from somewhat of a distance. I'm just curious as to how you manage to maintain your integrity in a system where it's often tested and perhaps even questioned. Yeah.
All right. First and foremost, because you have to overlook someone's shoulder, it behooves you yourself to have some sort of integrity. Because how do they say it? You lawyers should know that he who goes to equity must go with clean hands.
Yes.
Isn't
Yeah.
okay? So even for moral sake, all right. So you should uphold. You have a kind of belief, trust. You should be able to. You should be able to give people the chance to trust you, right? And giving people the chance to trust you must be based on how you have carried yourself and you have your display of integrity. Because it doesn't make sense that when you go to accuse someone, you are also falling short in what you're accusing someone of doing. So that becomes even a guiding rule for you, right? That you need to demonstrate integrity in what you're doing. So that is one of the core principles that, that you expect an internal auditor to imbibe. You must live your talk. You must live the principle. You must live whatever it is that is the ethics. And if you look at the ethics of the internal auditing, integrity is very fundamental because you can't begin to belabor what you have also fallen short of. I don't know whether I've actually answered your question. I've forgotten completely, but
Well,
how have I been able to wither through?
Yeah.
So like I said, that's already like an ethos for you, integrity. So, so you just have to, because you wouldn't want to be caught napping. Now, okay, so that's one.
That's the solid rock.
Yeah, so
upon which the house is
yeah,
built.
so it's already there, and you have to, right? You don't have to play it the other way. And
they say in fitness, they say if you stay ready, you don't ever have to get ready.
so somehow, somewhere, and some sort of yes. So I think that is what it is. And then perhaps again, maybe your faith again. All right, if your faith also plays a role. There's something.
There's a moral compass.
Yeah, there's a moral compass. That's that kind of okay, shapes you and moderates you and keeps you
on the straight and narrow.
Yes, thank you. So some sort that is what it is. Yeah, to a great extent. But that's not to play to say okay, no, all is well. But at least you are always checking yourself and ensuring that you align yourself properly. I think that is the.
No, it's
Would
all
I
right.
take my call? Thank you.
You can check that.
Please.
No problem. Who called? Huh?
Your dad.
Okay. All right. I hope all is well.
Yes.
We thank God. All right. So, just want to move on to like leadership lessons. What does good leadership in the public sector look like to you?
All right, thank you. I think good leadership, whether public sector or anywhere, good leadership is good leadership, and so you shouldn't just be restricted to public sector. Yeah, a good leader should be one. I think that that should have a vision, and a vision that is communicated, very well in clear terms to the followers. Because if there are no followers, then you don't have a leader. So the leader is because there are people following the leader, and so the leader should be able to give a direction, and that direction should be the vision of the leader that is also communicated. A good leader should be one that is also empathic, should be able
empathetic.
Yeah, empathetic.
Yes,
Thank you
no
so
problem.
much. Should be able to always recognize the differences in human beings, and that's not trying to explain what empathetic means or empathy means here. In other words, a good leader should be able to be one that has the ability to apply what they call social intelligence. You understand? You should be able to know that you don't use one way to manage everyone. You should be able to recognize the individualities in people and pick what is good in them and allow people to also aid themselves. A good leader, I think, should be more transformational.
You can see why you like Jose Mourinho a lot. He's a fantastic man manager.
Than transactional, know.
Transformational.
It shouldn't just be about now deliver. It should be also about deliver and also allowing you a pace. You could make mistakes. You can also be corrected, and then you learn and grow. A good leader should also be one that should be able to motivate. You should be able to reward. You should be able to reward where necessary. And then if there are areas where you need to sanction, you should be able to sanction where necessary so that you don't make it. A good leader should also be fair. People should see fairness in you. I mean, it's not a situation where you concentrate on one side or other. Maybe because you're a woman, you concentrate on women, or because you're from a particular region, you concentrate. No, you should be open and should be able to give people the opportunity to develop. A good leader should aim at also replicating himself or herself in so many areas. In other words, you shouldn't just be the only champion. You should be able to create yourself in so many other people around you, and so on and so forth. I may not be able to exhaust it within the 2 minutes you've given.
It's not a hard line. It's just a general.
So whether it's in public sector or anywhere, that's my understanding of what a good leader should be.
Okay, so that's a good definition of leadership. I don't believe I have any pushbacks to it, to be fair, especially because I'm also here to listen to you more so than contribute. You're the one that has gone through this very once in a lifetime experience, to be frank, because the way work is these days, increasingly, it's hard to find a situation where someone spends 3 decades in one institution. I doubt going forward that will be as commonplace as it was during your time. So it's a very, very rare window into a very, very unique experience that is going to become ostensibly increasingly rarer as we move forward. But that's a fantastic definition, and I don't have any notes, to be frank. I'm intrigued and would want to know what habits or values kept you growing. I know you said that was integral, developing yourself, but what habits would you say, maybe perhaps intrinsic or acquired over time to you, helped you to keep growing, even perhaps when the system felt rigid or difficult?
Well, I don't know, thank you. I don't know whether I should call that a habit, but I enjoy work. So I enjoy I don't like dull moments. I don't like sitting and not doing anything. So I enjoy working. I enjoy doing one thing or the other. Right, so some will say, okay, that will be hard working, well, perhaps, but I'm trying to be modest here, but I enjoy work. And so anything that will make me to deliver on whatever I am giving, I go for it, and I strive for it. I don't like being corrected too much. That could be a flaw. You understand? So, if I send something to you and you correct me, you can be sure that you will never ever have me repeat that.
So you're a perfectionist?
Yes, to a very large extent. It has its own back, whatever.
You're a perfectionist with a good engine.
So I just so it keeps me working. It keeps me looking for more. I am also somebody that is a bit very innovative. I don't like one thing. I don't like something that is too routinized. Incidentally, internal audit is a bit routinized, but in order to make myself to enjoy it, I keep putting one or two things, changing things to make it look different, right? And as much as you are doing that, you wouldn't even know that you are being innovative. All right, so you are being innovative. You keep changing. Not necessarily the cause, but adding flavor, adding flames, making the things to look better. Because I believe that whatever you need to give me, I must be able to appreciate it first. And that's what I tell my people. You do a report, your report should be captivating. Your report should be captivating. So it is the way your report looks that it will draw attention. And then it draws attention, then they will begin to look at the report. So for me, those are the things that, that have kept me so that I don't have any dull moment, even in the field, in a place where most of the works are a bit routinized. So that has kept me. And then because of the innovative nature in me, I try to also research more as much as possible. Look at what I'm doing, look at the way it's being done elsewhere, and see what I can do to add better value to the way I do things.
Fantastic, fantastic. There's a lot to digest there, especially for our viewers, potentially. Looking back, how do you think working in the public sector shaped your views of Nigeria?
My views of Nigeria, I think
For better or worse, of course. For better or worse.
yes, because I'm trying to understand that question.
Yes.
I am
because you've had a very unique insight into...
Yes, I'm trying to understand that question, and I'm trying to understand it because of the uniqueness of where I work. First and foremost, where I work has got no competitor, right? So
one of one.
So is monopolistic kind of, all right. So it's just one and one. And so if I want to draw my experience from where I work, right, vis-a-vis people's opinion of the outer Nigeria, right, it will be in sharp contrast. But I want to say with all due sense of modesty that where I work is a very decent institution. Not because I work there, but because that is what it is. Very decent, very organized, very, very meticulous, very, very... I'm saying this with all due sense of modesty and decency, honestly. So it is not a place where you can carry and subsume with what happens in the larger space of Nigeria and the opinion people have of Nigeria. Whatever might have happened in the past, it's in the past, and that's not what I want to speak about in the very recent past. But for the most part, it is a place that prides itself with integrity. It is a place that prides itself with transparency. It is a place that prides itself with honor. And so if I want to walk in that spectrum, I will say that has shaped me. And if I use that to evaluate Nigeria, I want to rate Nigeria even in that sphere. But I may be wrong because I do not know what happens elsewhere. And of course, when you listen to people and they talk about corruption and what have you in Nigeria, then you begin actually to wonder because that is not exactly what resonates so much with where I am coming from.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right, moving on. We're moving on to family, legacy, and retirement. How did your work life influence your role as a mother? What values did you try to model at home?
Okay, thank you so much. My work life, I think what my institution has done greatly is always to emphasize on a work work-life balance, all right? You have your work life and then you have your family life, and the way to balance the two. And so if that has been imbibed and has played out well, my work entailed a lot of traveling, right? A lot of traveling, but not traveling without being in touch with my children and being in touch with the realities of what happens around my children. So mm, 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 mm. So it's tough, but then by the grace of God and by the grace of other entities within the family circle, the family have been able to thrive. Again, because of the nature of my work, it does appear that sometimes you carry the mentality of that work home. So you become also a watchdog at home. You become an auditor also, even at home, even to your children. And I'm sure my children will testify to that. So you ask so many questions, you scrutinize so many things.
Fantastic. That's a trait I think most people from your generation share in abundance, to be frank. Right, so moving on, do you think your children, myself included, inherited anything from your professional mindset?
Well, I think they should be able to speak for themselves. But yeah, yes, even relationships, rubs up. Culture rubs up if you stay with someone. So, I think the aspect of accountability, yes. I think the aspect of being honest to a very large extent, I think yes. Yeah, it's a whole lot. I may not be able to begin to list one or one or two, three, four, five things that they have imbibed. Yes, but yes, I think they have. And you are the question. I think you can also answer for yourself.
It is well. Now that you're retiring, what will you miss most about daily work? And also, what excites you the most about this new phase of life?
Let me start.
Now that you are retiring, let's not say retiring perhaps. Now that you are
Yes.
retiring, what will you miss most about this phase of work that you are transitioning out of? And what excites you the most about the next phase of life?
Let me start with what excites me with the next phase of life. Retiring, yes. Retiring, no. I think what excites me is to first and foremost to take a step back and rest. All right, having worked for almost 35 years, so that rest is what excites me. Then again, to move into a new phase of life, which is likely going to be different from what has been too routinized. 8 to 5 or 8 to 8 or 8 to 7 thereabout. So I want something new, something different. All right, so that is what is interesting me. Then what I'm going to miss, I think I'm going to miss, because if you had a patterned life for over 30 something years, you have to lie to yourself to say you are not going to miss that. You're not going to miss people that you have met, and that you've created a kind of relationship with, and what have you. Yes, obviously I'm going to miss a lot of things about my institution. I'm going to miss the people I'm living there, but life continues. Yeah, you are missing them in that sphere, but you're also going to be meeting them in another sphere as it is. So that's all.
Life goes on.
Exactly.
All right, so moving on to the final section for the day, which is wisdom for the future. So I want to start out by asking, if a young woman were walking into the civil service today, what advice would you give her?
I will say, first and foremost, believe in yourself. Believe in God, the God that brought you there. Have a vision for yourself. Define your purpose for being there, and pursue that vision, which maybe some people call dream. Don't place a ceiling for yourself. Don't place hurdles for yourself. Don't most times some women believe that you rise because you're a woman and because you have connection because of what they call woman power. No, just believe in what you can do. Let it be that what anybody is speaking about you is what you're bringing to the table. Not necessarily your look, not necessarily your whatever outside.
Are you talking about feminine guile?
Yes,
and wild?
yes. Just no, that is not necessary. But have a vision, have a purpose for yourself, and be driven by that purpose and by that vision. And above all, embrace God. Let God be your anchor more than anything else. And then you will get there.
Follow God and add value. Is that a good summary?
Thank you.
You're welcome. What's the biggest lesson from these 34 plus years of service about people, purpose, power? What's the biggest takeaway?
Biggest lesson is that, let me start with people. People are not usually what they say they are. People. So you need to be circumspect, right? You need to be circumspect so that you don't go all the way hog in trusting and relying without measure on people. Okay. What is the other P? Because you have people,
Purpose,
you have
or power?
Purpose. Obviously, I've already spoken to purpose. You should have a purpose. There should be a purpose. So that means you are purpose driven, right? So I think that is very, very important, because when you're purpose driven, it helps to keep you in focus. It helps to keep you in check. The other one is what? Another P.
Power.
Power is good, but you have to guard the power you have jealously, and you have to understand that absolute power has a tendency to corrupt. So you must have that at the back of your mind. If you're in a position of power and in a position of authority, use it to the betterment of the institution where you are and to the people around you.
Fantastic. Right. Finally, if you could say one thing to your younger self on that first day back in December 1990, what would it be?
I would say congratulations to Lydia, and thank God Almighty for standing by Lydia.
Excellent. Let me please shake your hand. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, not just for your service to the country, but for your strength, for your example, and for being the quiet, steady force behind everything we've built. We are so proud. Happy retirement, and in advance, happy birthday as well. All the best.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time. Very, very much appreciated.
Thank
Another
you.
handshake.
God bless you. Thank you.
I receive it. And I need it.
All right.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Thank you. That's it.